Ronnie Coleman, Markus Ruhl, look at these two big studs. This is not human. Can you imagine, just for 1 second, somebody that never even knew that bodybuilding even existed, or even a weightlifter, and to look at these two creatures and have them sit down front row center and have these two big alien creatures walk out? They're not humans. If aliens were to land here, wom 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 wom, gooble gobble, zing boyd, toot, liquor liquor, I don't think that they would realize that these two specimens were the same creature as me and you at home. Unless you're reasonably jacked yourself, which is probably, it's believable, some of you fellers. 2004 Russian Grand Prix for Ronnie King Coleman. He had a lot of good versions, including this Grand Prix version. And for Markus Ruhl, we're going to use a gumbo of versions. This is 2004, in case you didn't realize. But without further ado, guys and gals, let's go to these. Let's go to the beautiful bean footage. This is why we're all here, to see picture comparisons. You guys didn't all tune in to hear me make jokes or crack jokes. My sense of ha-ha, har-har would. Well, maybe as did. But we really are here to see how these giants size up against each other. And not too many of them out there could hold their own as far as size, structure, things of that nature, muscle, the amount of muscle that Ronnie King Coleman had, other than Markus Ruhl. And he really could. But look, muscle for muscle, bicep separation, lats, even in the abs here. And the wheels, the legs. Look at the legs. They are so much bigger for Ronnie King Coleman. But man, oh man, if Markus Ruhl had the detail of, say, like a Sean Ray or something like that, and maintained the size that he had, that's Ronnie Coleman. That's Ronnie Coleman. So Markus Ruhl was one of the only ones to have that type of muscle mass. And I think that alone makes this comparison interesting. This is your best Markus Ruhl, by the way, 2002. Your most known 2002 Night of Champions, your most known version of Markus Ruhl. But is it his best, really? I don't think so. Go to the next pose here. This is the front lat spread. Ronnie looks good. I was going to talk about Markus Ruhl for a second, but look at Ronnie. Jeez. But yes, this is the 1999 Olympia version of Ruhl. I think he looked his best at the start of his career. In certain shots. Well, it's not the very start of his career, but you know what I'm saying. But yes, I think that in the front lat spread, no doubt, was his way better shot earlier on in the 1999. Sorry, the didgeridoo got to me. Here is Markus a little bit later on. And this is Ronnie Coleman from the Russian Grand Prix, but it just seems like the other one was a little bit favorable. Angles, things of that nature, as well as Ruhl, because this one here is just not the best for Ruhl. And let's face it, guys, if it's no good for Ruhl, it's no good for Germania? Germany. It's no good for Germany. Is that right? I apologize to you lovely, lovely people in Germany. You Germans. Here's a side chest shot. And wow. Look at Markus Ruhl. This guy could have been, when you see a TV show or something, I know I get sidetracked very easily, but you see a TV show with alternate futures. This could have been your Mr. Olympia for years and years, Markus Ruhl. If they went with that size, they got behind him, pack a rocket pack full of rocket fuel, and send him to the moon. Could you imagine? I really do believe that there's not many humans that could have did what Ronnie Coleman did, but Markus Ruhl, He is one of them. He really is awesome. And whether I missized this or not, and I don't think I did. Too bad anyway. The size of Coleman's legs compared to Markus's. But whether I did or not, look at the far pec. Look at the close pec. Ruhl is taking Ronnie Coleman to school on the big man's chest. Terrible picture of Ronnie, though. Gotta add that in there for you Colemanites. I know how you guys are. Here's the side tricep. And is it just me? Or have we been here before? What do they say? Days the views. What, you know what I'm saying? Seems like we've been here before. Coleman, Ronnie King Coleman, look at his arm. Look at the vein popping out of that bicep. Tricep, maybe not the biggest in town. Delts, Ronnie was never known to have the biggest delts in all of bodybuilding. He had everything else going for him. Now Markus Ruhl, he did have the biggest delts. He had massive triceps as well. You can really see it in this shootout. Midsection never went proper, or whatever Louis Marco says. You know what he says. Proper. Wasn't a proper midsection. Coleman actually keeping his pretty tight, I gotta say. Not a bad version of the side try for Coleman here at the Grand Prix Russia, or Russian Grand Prix, whatever you prefer. And here's the back. And this is usually where these two dudes separated. It was actually close. The front, side, and I guess if you skip the back, you get an abs and thigh and a most muscular. It is close between these two guys, but the back shots were always Ronnie's domain. This is, I believe, the 2002 Night of Champions Markus Ruhl just stumbled upon this picture. One of the few close-up shots you can see, if I'm correct about that, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it is. It looks like he's pretty conditioned. It's one of the few shots you can actually see his conditioning. It's not as good as Ronnie Coleman's in the glutes. You don't see the striations in the glutes. Hamstrings, not bad. The back itself, not as thick and meaty as Ronnie King Coleman, but I'll be darned. Markus Ruhl's back, not bad at all. He didn't have the Paul Dillette, totally small, petite, I'll say it, a weenie. A little weenie back. He didn't have a wiener back. He had a good, big, thick pad. Know what I'm saying? Now, just for a rare treat, because this picture of Markus Ruhl is tilted. You really can't size it correctly. For a rare treat, here is both of them at the 2004 British Grand Prix. So it's the same year. I don't know if the British Grand Prix was just after the Russian. Could be just prior to. But either way, look at Coleman. Not a bad version of Ronnie. Midsection, maybe a little thicker than I'd like to see. 99, things of that nature, pretty tight. But it is along the same lines of conditioning, separation. You look at Ruhl. And yeah, Ruhl just was not as conditioned. Now granted, this was not the most conditioned Markus Ruhl, but it is fair to say that Coleman has been negative body fat. We know that. I think he has some body fat. He's still alive, so he must have had some. Hey, I do not speak against the king. Here's the next of the two back shots, and see what I mean? Oh, this is the British Grand Prix again. Or not, yes, the 2004 British Grand Prix. Not the 2000 British Grand Prix. Not to be confused with that Flex Wheeler event. But yeah, look at Ruhl's back. Non-wienerish at all. That's a nice big back. Coleman, he could have been in trouble if the conditioning was upped. And the judges were sabotaging this guy, Markus Ruhl. They told him, oh, you need to get bigger. We just told him you need to get more conditioned. And he would have won. What a waste. What a waste. Pure genetics. Can't even see the calves either. I didn't mention that. He's beaten Ronnie on the calves. All of the shots, too. So, realistically, Ruhl only losing here on perhaps the traps, the glutes, and the hamstrings. because this back is not messing around. Here's the abs and thigh. Is that Alexandria Fedorov? Or Alexander, not Alexandria, in the background. It's a blurry picture of Coleman, but we have seen close-up shots. We know the type of condition that he was in here at this event. He was in awesome condition. And as far as the abs are concerned, I don't think I've ever seen them so bubbly, like Samson Doda's were, all bubbly and round and full. I like it. It is a good abs and thigh shot, and Ruhl really has no business on the same stage. No, that's terrible. That's disrespectful. He has every right to be on stage with Ronnie King Coleman. He's just not beating him in the abs and thigh. Nothing doing. Good little matchup. Good little matchup indeed. Now, the most muscular is one of those situations where Markus Ruhl, he can beat pretty... Oh my goodness. Just noticed something terrible. We mentioned that his back wasn't the back of a wiener. He didn't have a wiener back. It looks like Ruhl's wieners. It looks like it's in his hand. Ew. But anyway, Ruhl is a stud. I guess I shouldn't call him that either. I gotta end this. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. This is terrible. Actually, bring on another picture of Ruhl. Goodness sakes, there, that's much better. Get that other picture out of my mind. So the two are huge, but different. Ronnie Coleman has that round pop type muscle, round and full. And Ruhl, I would say, is more blockbustery, huge. Hey, hear that noise? That's a Jake break. Ah. You know what that was? The old Oscar Mayer Queen hair car. One of your better cars, for sure. I rank that up there with the Batmobile. The Oscar Mayer wiener car. Could you imagine the amount of hawk diggity dogs that, say, Gunnar Rosbow could eat? Gunnar Rosbow could eat a lot of dogs. The Chinese like hot dogs, right? Do they eat a lot of hot dogs in China? I don't think anybody eats as many hound diggity dogs as the United States of Americans. You fellers, and you guys are a lot of my fans. I love yous. And I don't think I should say but here. And you guys eat a lot of hawk dogs. You just pack them right into the old colander and call it a day. Hawk dogs. You just love that salty taste. So at the end of the day, Ronnie, he's always going to get Markus Ruhl in the conditioning, the back itself. But no other man, no other specimen could give Ronnie Coleman a run for his money like Markus Ruhl did, as in terms of the amount of muscle. Look at the delts. This guy is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Let me know. Was Markus Ruhl winning this one? Let me know in the comments section below, and I cannot be held responsible for what the Colemanites do to you for saying that he lost this one. Have a nice one, guys.